Hi, Reza. Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Well, Reza, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks. JD,
Excellent.
James Dwayne. I didn't know JD stood for James Dwayne.
Secret's out, right? The secret's out. Excited for today's show, and we've got a lot we're going to cover here today. And I know we got a lot of people joining in. There'll be plenty of questions out there as well. But I want to get started here because there's so much I want to dive into. And if you're new to Sweet Speak, it used to be C-Suite Spark. If you're new to C-Suite, or Sweet Speak rather, we chat with the top C-suite leaders from all over the globe, from CEOs to CIOs to CMOs to CISOs. We want to find out what are the biggest challenges that they're facing now. And I've had the luxury of interviewing some of the top leaders in the world over the last 30 years and excited to continue that today as we're going to continue on our path of AI. Today, we're diving into the latest in AI innovation for CTOs and beyond, along with personal AI with Kwaai Chair and CEO Reza Rassool. Now, Reza brings over 35 years of experience in innovative technology, a career that's been focused on AI, software development, IoT, and more. He served as CTO and other key executive positions at Real Networks, Zaya, and Widevine Technologies, both acquired by Google, StreamLogic, and Second Sight Medical products. And get this, he currently serves as the chair of Kwaai. We're going to dive into so much with Kwaai today, a collaborative AI research and development lab. But also get this, his pioneering innovations include award-winning digital movie editing systems, the world's first video-on-demand server, cochlear implants, bionic eyes. Reza, what haven't you done? 27 patents in the US, 75 from the World Intellectual Property Organization. Reza, thank you for joining the show.
Thanks. Is that me? It sounds like I'm full of it.
No, you've done so much, and I'm going to play a video that Kwaai has in just a second, talking about what Kwaai is and all that. But I want to talk about your career journey. What brings you to this point today? Before we dive into that video.
Gosh. Okay. The speed. The speedy summary of my path. I lived on 3 continents: Africa, Europe, and America. And born in Cape Town, grew up in London, and now for the last 30 years have been living and working in the US. I think I've just been serially lucky to have been in the right place and the right time. To catch a wave. I was fortunate enough in the UK to have had a free education. Those are the times when education was provided to you. If you were a taxpayer and you got the grades, you could go to university. And then caught the wave of digital video, digital media, and brought to the US a product that had revolutionized or would revolutionize digital editing. It's actually over my shoulder. It's this edit controller here was the peripheral for the Lightworks editing system. Lightworks is still in use now. It transformed the town that I'm in, Los Angeles, and it transformed the industry of Hollywood. As you mentioned, I had a stint in the biomedical world in the area of cochlear implants and bionic eyes. This is really leveraging the fact that most of my software development was in embedded systems, and that's where my instincts always go to bring processing to the edge and to have them run locally on devices. And more about that later on. I had 2 exits to Google. Okay, so again, being in the right place at the right time, I don't attribute it to my, any innate skill or anything like that. And along the way, the mark of success is patenting ideas. And so, yes, there's a large number of patents. Gosh, as I've matured, my view of patents is changed quite a bit, and it's probably the one area where I agree with Elon Musk that patents are a big waste of time. They're a lottery ticket for a lawsuit later on that you anticipate that you want to win, but patents are like children. They You have to nurture them and feed them and maintain them for uh, 18, 21 years, whatever it is, until they go off and do their own thing. So I've got patents old enough to drink and drive and patents that have actually expired, though sadly to say. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that sets a good stage because CTOs have a lot of challenges, right? And dealing with, that's one of them. And again, I'm going to play this video in just a minute. But before I do, my question for you, and it's that overarching, the biggest challenge right now CTOs face when it comes to AI, not outside of personal AI, we're going to dive into that, but AI in general, what do you think is the biggest challenge CTOs face?
I think it's a fear of not wanting to. It's a fear of doing it yourself. It's a belief. We've all been fed this belief that this is only the domain of the deep-pocketed half a dozen or so companies that currently control AI. It's not true. It turns out that AI, if you overcome a few just mental hurdles and conceptual hurdles, you can make it accessible to more and more companies, small to medium businesses. And that doesn't necessarily mean just simply using ChatGPT or one of the existing SaaS services. You can actually participate. So that's one aspect of it, that you can use AI. The other aspect of it is that once you start using it, you have some success. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that I've got this hammer now, and all my technical problems look like nails. And that's the mode that we're currently in. Those people that have got the hammer and figured out they don't have to go and rent somebody else's hammer, that they actually have a hammer of their own. Now all the problems in their corporation look like nails, and it's a sort of a touch of intellectual laziness of not actually thinking out what is the actual problem and saying, okay, I'm going to throw my hands up in the air. All the historical data we have is going to be the basis of predicting the future. Not always the case. The past doesn't always predict the future. Okay, so they were interesting. Yeah.
We talk about this, 12 months ago. The conversation's different, right? We're going to talk about this in another 12 months. It's going to continue to evolve, right? It's going to shift. Speaking of shift, let's talk about personal AI. And I've teased the video enough. Want to play this for everyone here.
Just wondering which video you're going to play.
Share my screen as we dive into this.
Well, this is a Kwaai day at the top of Table Mountain as we're contemplating the year ahead of us, the year of artificial intelligence, but we're immersed in reality. This is what's real. Real rocks, real sky, real sea, real land, and real people. When I grew up in this town, it was at the height of apartheid, a dark time in this country's history. The fate of this nation is analogous to the fate of the entire global predicament we're in. Forces that drive the increasing monopolization of power and wealth are those forces that also increase the gap between rich and poor. It's vitally important that we mobilize rather than moan, that we organize rather than writing passive blogs about the dire situation we're in. It's not just artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not a new phenomenon. It's an extra tool in the hand of capitalism to continually concentrate wealth amongst very few individuals. What is called for is an altruistic intervention, a movement of volunteers, a democratization of artificial intelligence. South Africa underwent a move towards democracy, set them on a path to right the wrongs of the past, and there's no going back. In the area of artificial intelligence, we have a similar phenomenon, this trend of monopolization. An oligopoly controls the industry. It's our thesis that every consumer, every user has to own their own artificial intelligence, own and operate it themselves. This very issue has been playing out in the Hollywood actors and writers strikes. But let's take healthcare as an example. Your digital twin, my digital twin, is now owned by several different healthcare providers. My financial habits are also owned by other multiple service providers. My travel habits. What we assert is that each user should own their own AI. We'll give them the tools to be able to own and control and manage their own digital twin, their own artificial intelligence, and they would be able to negotiate, or they'll be able to expose the amount of information they want to each service provider for them to gain access. So turning the whole model on its head, rather than service operators, service providers having to glean your likes and dislikes, you can tell them. You will have your own co-pilot that will be able to engage with third-party systems in an automated way and would act on your behalf. It'll free you up, for instance, from your email inbox and handle your incoming emails for you. Automation is coming. Co-pilots are coming. Some of them are here already. What is vitally important is that you own your own co-pilot. If you don't, you are in effect giving up the pilot seat. Own your own co-pilot. Let it accelerate and amplify your capability and improve your employability. Our organization is called Kwaai. It comes from the street parlance of this very town. It means cool, it means angry, it has nuanced and complicated intentions and meanings. It's our mission to create tools to allow you to own your own AI and manage it. Kwaai is a non-profit, volunteer-based, open source developer community. It's a technical think tank and it's a policy think tank. We have technical work groups building open source software, policy work groups creating legal language, creating licensing agreements, and creating the sort of certification and nutrition facts that every single AI model should have. So Kwaai is in its infancy. We started in 2023. 2024 is the year in which we amplify it and we grow Kwaai. It's important that you join. If you are an AI thinker, you might want to volunteer. You'd be curious, you'd be eager to contribute to an international collaboration. You'll be involved in perhaps writing software, perhaps writing technical papers, perhaps contributing to publications. Come and join us. Join the movement. Join the movement that is democratizing AI. Thank you.
Wonderful stuff, Reza. And I know that that video is a little bit old from the origins of where you guys came from at Kwaai, but talk to me about Kwaai and what, we talked a little bit about the origins, but talk to me about the true inspiration here.
Yeah, so look, I hadn't watched that video for a while, and I have to say it's quite moving. I mean, apart from the sort of dramatic music that grows to a crescendo, that's lovely. Um, we shot it in 12 minutes, and it's cut down to five, single take. I think there was maybe one section where the camera stopped and said, "Okay, can you just um, do an intro comment?" And that was it. And it was shot by my son. We were on a family trip to Cape Town. Not taken the entire family there, so it's me, my wife, four boys, significant others, plus two of their cousins, and we all went to South Africa for basically a family reunion. And look, no one that came out of that country and that environment does not live a life informed by that experience. And so the stakes were very high for me, and my world outlook. Even though I left the country when I was 8 years old, my world outlook is informed by that experience. So let's see. Fast forward to last year when I retired as CTO of Real Networks. I had spent 7 years at Real Networks, transforming it from the streaming media company that everyone knew, the brand, and pivoting towards AI. And that was the result of that pivot was that Rob Glazer, the original owner, was able to take the company private. He had owned 38% of the company, now owns 100% of the company that's debt free and pivoted towards AI with two AI divisions, one in NLP and one in computer vision. So, on the strength of that transformation, I was able to retire, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do with the rest of my time? Let's democratize AI, because that's easier to do than learning how to play golf, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting too, and I've been involved with Kwaai for a little bit now, and there's so much different challenges when it comes to AI. A lot of individuals talk about AI from more of a Gen AI standpoint, right? This personal AI is taking a life of its own. Talk to me about where you're starting from a Kwaai standpoint, in because it can apply to every industry. But where are you guys starting?
Yeah, so I'm starting from the point of the individual rather than from the point of the corporation. I feel that the broad thesis is if AI is going to be truly uplifting for humanity, let's start with the problems of humans first. So many people focusing on increasing the profitability of corporations. That's fine. Let them do that. Very few people are focusing on applying AI to the problems of individuals, like managing my calendar, managing my emails, managing the subscriptions I have, managing my healthcare, my finances, my travel plans, mental health, and so on. So I'm instead imagining a personal assistant that can give me a 10x improvement. You know, that mythical 10x improvement is what startups always try and go for. And I've been a serial startup guy, and I drank the Kool-Aid on that and try and figure out, how a corporation can result in a 10x improvement in the sort of sector that they are playing in. I'm thinking now, what if I could have a 10x improvement? What if individuals can have a 10x improvement in the efficiency of their life, the productivity? It would make them a better employee. It'll make them a better consumer. It'll make them a better citizen, a more engaged citizen. And that benefit will trickle up to corporations and the rest of the economy. And I believe in that flow of wealth rather than the reverse. It never it never trickled down, and it never will. So that is the kind of subversive, the subversive thought that gave birth to Kwaai.
You guys are working in some higher education. Why pick higher education as a focus?
Good point. Good point. So, there's been a lot of critique and say, well, why don't you go all the way straight to personal AI? And so the thesis is if we're going to focus on the data of the individual and we insist that that data remains private and they take ownership of their own data, that the processing needs to come to where the data is. So that would mean AI running completely at the local edge on your device or on an appliance at home or something like that. We're not there yet. We're not there yet with the processing power or the efficiency of the neural network algorithms and frameworks. But we're getting there, and that's a research effort that's going on. Here's the thing we can do: we can bring AI maybe to a midpoint to run on a college campus, where instead of going straight to the end consumer, we pick a particular class of user. In this case, it's professors, and we say, well, let's see if we can use this as a kind of a beta, as a proving ground. Can we bring AI out of the clouds to run on a college campus and provide 100, maybe 1,000 professors, if for some big colleges, instructors, provide them with their own bot that they can curate, where they own the data, they own the intellectual property of their course curriculum. They can load that up, and they can provide that as a student-facing experience. So the first play is to create a virtual teacher's assistant, and that beta is about to be released. We're playing with the alpha at the moment, and we're testing it internally. We've got about 30 universities and colleges signed up for the beta, and it's going to be interesting. And the thesis is if we can give a professor a 10x improvement, basically freeing up their time by giving them a virtual TA, a virtual teacher's assistant, that's going to have a knock-on effect of improving student advancement. It allows the student to have 24/7 access to the course curriculum material, not just that 1 hour a week of class time where they got a concentrated dose of instruction, or the course curriculum material that got published and they don't know how to navigate through it. Imagine having a chatbot you can talk to and will talk back at you, and you can query to your heart's content until you get clarification and you're unstuck in your current assignment. So that was the thesis of how we're applying personal AI.
So as you build this, it's interesting too, because it's a lot of people involved. Hundreds of people are members of Kwaai. Are you surprised how it's taken off?
I am surprised. I thought it would be a few dozen people that would be interested in participating. We've got over 600 volunteers now. We're a year old. We'll probably end the year at about 1,000 volunteers. We opened up an EMEA chapter that straight after this call, we're going to have our EMEA chapter meeting. Next year we'll probably open up an Asia Pacific chapter. So it's a significant movement.
You surprised? I mean, but also, not only are you surprised, why do it this way? As a nonprofit, right. You could have. I mean, you could be sitting on a load of cash right now, Reza.
I could have rolled the dice one more time and done another for-profit startup. I didn't think that would solve the problem that AI is in. AI is increasingly monopolized by maybe half a dozen corporations that control it. And to aspire to be, to criticize the oligopoly and aspire to be another oligarch is not the way forward. So we didn't think that the sort of Mistral type of way of, oh, go raise $1 billion and go after it. No, you're just then aspiring to be another oligarch. So I was inspired by the way Linux approached the problem 30 years ago, when the server operating system space was also controlled by maybe a half a dozen corporations. And we couldn't make any progress in it because they controlled the source code, and you needed $1 million license in order to get source code access. Along comes Linux. Linus Torvalds basically released, hey, here's some code. It's a POSIX compliant operating system. Tell me what you think. And he thought maybe he's going to get a half a dozen developers working on. No, the developers rushed in and all started participating in Linux. And now Linux is the dominant operating system. It's all over the place. It's running in the cloud. It's running on devices. It's the sort of underpinning of many embedded systems. There's a Linux operating system. Free, open source, volunteer driven. And it's not to say that, okay, it's free and it's a big sort of giveaway. There are for-profit entities built on top of Linux that monetize it. So there's a thriving community. And I thought, okay, if we can emulate that type of dynamic, have a foundation of open source software, we call it Pi OS, Personal AI Operating System, Pi OS. And that is free and it's open source. But on top of that, we anticipate people building assistants, and we call the assistants abilities. These, you might have a financial planning ability, a healthcare ability, but it all leverages this free open source Pi OS. So that we think that a non-profit, open source, volunteer-driven movement is a healthier way of starting an ecosystem that will be equitable and will achieve the same sort of transformational goals that we think the industry needs.
There's always risk involved in a lot of different things. We were talking to Chase Cunningham recently at a previous episode just about from a security standpoint. People look at the risks of Gen AI. What are the risks of personal AI that you see?
Well, yeah, I mean, the risks of open source development where you don't know who's contributing to the code is a very real risk. And we've seen a number of cyber attacks where code that is not well maintained or maintained by a few people can be vulnerable to kind of a social engineered threat, a social engineered sort of avenue of attack. So one of the things we do is we make sure all of our code is signed, and it's signed, and that they are signing rituals and signing ceremonies that we go through. So everybody that's contributing to the code base, we put them through a rigorous test. So it's not a free for all, open for everyone. You know, Linus Torvalds is that same sort of benevolent dictator. He says he looks at every line of code that goes into Linux. So we've got that sort of benevolent dictator. It's not me anymore. There's Sam Johnston is a prodigious code developer, and he's that kind of benevolent dictator over the code. I'm happy to look after the vision of the organization, and yeah, I think you do need that, and there is a real risk. There is also, well, okay, let's talk about the risk of not having your data personal, but having your data in a silo of a particular vendor, and vendors have become addicted to customer data. In fact, the cover of The Economist magazine was "Data is the new oil." And the language they use is the language of the extractive industry, of mining it, of refining it, of silos, of piping it, and so on. it's all a complete waste of time. That data is being hoarded in order to create predictive models, in order to target their multi-million dollar ad budgets, in order to bombard you with commercials for things they hope you want to buy. They predict you want to buy. Those predictive models are based on a false notion of you. They are inevitably wrong and out of date. That's why you're still being bombarded with commercials for stuff you wanted a month ago, you purchased, but they but it's gone. Why don't they just ask you, JD, what's on your shopping list? Well, they can't because they're machines and you're a human, but you're going to have your own machine. You'll have your own personal AI. You will have entitled it to be queried by a number of brands. They'll say, "Oh, what's on JD's shopping list this month?" Great, okay. Here's we'll bid on serving him that, and there'll be a negotiation, and your personal shopping assistant will say, okay, here's what we've put you. You're out of these products, and here's the best offers that came in from outside, from vendors. Do you buy? You know, and you'll have one checkout, you'll have one shopping cart for all of your vendors, one user interface. Not you won't have to create accounts with each of them. You won't have to learn the user. Gosh, I'm going into a big rant here, but personal AI is going to have some fantastic benefits in transforming the economy on a whole. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you look back in this journey? The journey hasn't, in all realistic standpoint, been that long. Talk to me about the significant point of pivot that you're like, oh my gosh, we got something here. This is something that is going to be huge for a lot of industries.
I didn't know that the emphasis would be on personal AI. I left Real Networks with an angst that AI is heading off in a dangerous direction and started a discussion group. And it's really the discussion that, so we started it in July. It wasn't till about Q4 that we realized, hey, personal AI is the way to do something practical rather than just writing whiny blog posts and so on. And Q1, we delivered a proof of concept. Hey, that's what CTOs know how to do, know how to pull together a project really quickly, proof of concept. And that proof of concept is actually still running on our website. Very soon now, before the end of this month, we'll be releasing the beta into education. That big pivot was, well, the proof of concept costs about $2,000 to run in AWS. So personal AI is expensive. Having your own GPU server in someone's cloud costs a lot of money. So the first metric was to reduce that cost down to $1 or $2 a month. Boom! How do you get a factor of 1,000? Well, that's what the personal AI beta is all about. A multi-tenant solution where that can run on a college campus where it can support 100, 1,000 bots on a single server. And so that is a fantastic milestone that we've achieved. More milestones are coming up. I think the sort of ultimate milestone we want is to have Kwaai as an organization to be self-sufficient, where it's bringing in its own revenue. Non-profit doesn't mean non-revenue. Bringing in its own revenue would inoculate it from undue corporate influence. And so that's a goal that we hope to achieve.
What advice would you give to other entrepreneurs looking to enter this AI space or start a tech-driven initiative, as ambitious as this?
Right. Okay. So personal AI is the next multi-trillion-dollar sector. Go look at it. Convince yourself that that's right, and figure out a way to play in that space. One way of playing in that space is to build an app, an ability we call it, on top of the Pi OS, on top of the Pi operating system. That's a kind of a no-brainer. It's like going back 30 years and saying, hey, bank on Linux as your server operating system and focus on applications on top of that. And whether you're a device manufacturer or whether you are building applications, I think that's my advice.
You know, finally, if people want to get involved with Kwaai, how do they do it?
There's a website, Kwaai.ai. Just look for the spelling of it. It's KWAAI.ai. You can see the sort of linguistic heritage or the etymology of the word. It's got a Dutch ending, AAI, rather than lots of people want to spell it like a Hawaiian word, and it's not. As the movie said, it means cool. It means angry, wild, but it means cool. And Kwaai.ai. Sign up for free.
Wonderful. I know you guys have meetings every Friday. Fantastic things that are shared. And then you guys shared on the LinkedIn page as well. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. Join the Friday meetings there at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Free, open to the public. If you do sign up and get involved, you'll get Slack access, you'll get access to the work groups, and you'll be able to participate in the outputs of the movement.
Wonderful. Reza, thank you so much for joining us today on Sweet Speak. And again, you can learn more about Kwaai at Kwaai.ai. As far as here at Sweet Speak, tune in every Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, for a new episode of Sweet Speak. And also, we put it out as a podcast. So wherever you get your podcasts, check it out. Reza, thank you so much for joining us today.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Bye.